it good for? Chapter 4, War Games. After the meal, Cupid and Charlton needed a nap. Cupid fell asleep on a comfy chair with Charlton in his lap. It was the cutest thing ever. Christian was doing the dishes while Brownie and I stood to help drying the dishes. So, now that everyone's had their fill of food, what do we think about the plans for war? Christian and Brownie looked over at me as I asked the question. I think we should fly a plane over the mountain range to see the enemy base, then do reconnaissance and find out how to strike them all at once. Christian piped up. We should use the biggest non-nuclear devices we have, find all their hideouts and bomb them with napalm, as well as the father of all bombs. They had napalm? Why wasn't I surprised? As much as I don't like the idea of violence, it is necessary to then rebuild the world, as I have a few ideas of how to help rebuild, once the war is over, that is. The commander looked at me with a slight tilt of his head. And what would that be, Charles? Well, first and foremost, they need electricity back everywhere. I want to bring the power back to your universe, and I think I know how to do it if I had the satellites to beam down another EMP of sorts. But this time, if I reverse the polarity in magnetics, I could theoretically bring the power back online. Christian and Brown looked surprised. That's all it would take? I nodded at Christian's question. Yes, but in the process we shouldn't damage any vital infrastructure like power lines or sewage lines. If the power were to come on and there was a mess of wiring, it would fail at best or backfire at worst. Christian then walked over to a bookshelf and grabbed a large ornate map. Brownie and I walked over to the table where we unfurled the map. This is us here, and this is the Bernese mountain range to our west. Our capital is to the north, a bit beyond the factories of industry, and the capital and country is named Britannia. I like the name Britannia. A lot, actually. It's just the commander and myself have never been able to cross the Bernese mountains due to the extreme harshness of the weather. And I understand what you mean when you say you want to preserve the infrastructure, as on the other side of the Bernese lies a vast and connected network of power relays. Aha, that's why Berkowitz's soldiers hid out there. So then I think we should change our strategy. I hate to say this, but I think we need to develop another nerve agent. What's the population of Britannia, Commander? He was quick to respond. 50 million. It was the last safe haven that wasn't fully ruined by Berkowitz. And are you sure, Charles? I nodded, and Cupid and Comrade Charlton walked over. Dad said I need to learn more science, so this nerve agent will be my first true test. But I want to make sure the people of Britannia don't get susceptible to the nerve agent. We need a targeted nerve agent, one that only wipes out those who aren't on the right side. Cupid was right, and then I remembered what Brownie had said about the nerve agent being released into the water. That's it. We release the agent into the air and put the antidote into Britannia's water supply. That way the citizens don't die. And I'm sure Christian and you, Brownie, don't want to do this. But I don't see any other way that doesn't end the war quickly. If we can do it without any or many shots being fired, well, that's what I'm hoping for. Brownie frowned and Christian walked away from the table. I don't know if I have the strength to do that, Charles. It would be the easy route, but wouldn't that make me just as bad as Berkowitz? As I was about to say something, Cupid spoke up. Commander Browning, I can't even begin to imagine how this may make the two of us look in your eyes, and I'm sorry if you think less of us, but it's the lesser of two evils. Either have a long and painful war risking the very infrastructure we hope to redeploy, or take the easy route and risk your soul. It's not up to us, it's up to you and Christian. We will help with whatever option you choose, but just know that we will help you end this war. Christian then came back with a simple test tube filled with a bluish-gray solution. This is the only surviving inert version of the nerve agent. We can either destroy it or re-engineer it. The choice is yours, Browning. I don't get a say in this, as I was complicit in its creation. Then Comrade Charlton spoke up for the first time since the nap. In my opinion, and take it with a massive grain of salt, is that war requires sacrifice, but the thing that we should never sacrifice is the self. Browning, from one leader to another, I've made mistakes that'll do me to hell, which doesn't exist, but hell is more of an idea and a concept than you've been living in for almost 30 years. Do whatever will bring you peace, or at the very least won't make your life more hellish than it already is. Browning walked over to Charlton. May I get a hug? As those the words that helped me make up my mind, and a hug is needed. Charlton nodded, and Browning walked over and picked up Charlton. They nodded as Browning cried, piping hot tears. Thank you, Charlton. Also, I wanted to say my greatest love for all those at this table. As I made up my mind, and in my reasoning it's only fair to wipe out the bastards with a nerve agent. What goes around comes around. Karma's the truest bitch out there. Charles, Cupid, and Christian, you have my blessing. Charlton, come with me. The plan was made. Charlton and Browning walked out of the cottage while Cupid and Christian walked with me towards the ark. There was always hope, even if it requires the darkest sins of the past. What goes around comes around.